What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Vertigo Table. I am Ryan Doyle, and joining me tonight, Vertigo Table After Dark, is John from Double Crit Fail. What's up, John? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for this one because John was kind enough to share what's next, which is usually how I close out the show. But you've got a pretty cool video coming up, and which will be
Yeah.
out actually by the time people are watching this. Tell people where to find you on the internet.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Double Crit Fail on TikTok and YouTube and X or Twitter or whatever it is, although I have not used that site as much these days.
Boo.
Um, I create just D&D material. Lately, I've been getting into funny shorts. But the reason I have to do that is because I tend to get very sucked into videos in
Mhm.
production world. Like when I create my longer ones, they just take up my entire life. So speaking of that, the video that I'm working on currently, which hopefully will be out by the time this releases, is a video on the uh, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser in Disney World, the defunct, semi-viral now after this year attraction. I'm talking about my own experience that I had there through a perspective of tabletop gaming and RPGs, because for me, going there was like a real life RPG. It felt like D&D in real life. And I've never experienced something like that before. Like I had never LARPed. You know, I, I'm just we that's just not my bag. Let's say that. So for me, it was like a brand new experience going and trying this kind of thing, and I went in really not knowing what to expect, and what I found was just like this incredible attraction, but more so than that, like this incredible community of people that have fallen in love with this thing, and also the performers and actors, and it's for me personally very sad that this thing is gone,
Mm.
and it has this public perception of what it was. And I'm just like, well, that was some people's experience, but that wasn't my experience. And so I wanted to share my own uh, pretty much life-changing experience that I had aboard the ship. So if you get a chance, check it out. It should be one of the newer videos on my channel by the time this releases. And thank you, by the way, for watching it beforehand and giving me some outside perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I know what it's like to be this close to a project, so you can't see around the edges of it anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you need to phone a friend. Yeah, but like so surprisingly poignant, right? Like one, if you haven't seen John, well, one you probably have and didn't realize because that was my experience with you, and we'll circle back to that in a second. But if you haven't seen it, Double Crit Fail is crazy production values, video essays, edited to a T, just like really, really finely crafted work. And you really sold me on this experience. Like, man, I want to go to this place that I doesn't exist anymore. Oh, that's sad.
Right.
And then like I saw it coming, but you're like drawing out storytelling lessons that a dungeon master may use, and then it got incredibly poignant, which I was unprepared for. I literally paused and I was like, wait a minute. I wasn't ready for that part. Like I need to, because I was in a very analytical space. I'm trying to like
Yeah.
help you with it. I was like, okay, this is something here. This is an experience. And like the idea of the ephemeral nature of things make them so much more potent and juicy, and that's true for every D&D session, because even if I'm running the same one shot with the same 4 or 5 people, like it's a different thing every time, and it's
Yeah.
not recorded. Even if it's a live stream, what you see on a screen is not what the people are experiencing, and it's kind of never really there, which makes it more real
Mhm.
somehow, and then it's gone.
Yeah, and
um
just speaking of the Galactic Star Cruiser a little bit more, like that is the experience that every person had because no two voyages were the same. You always
mm,
had a different cast of characters coming in or a different cast of actors, I guess, playing those same characters. And every voyage, from what I've heard, because some people I met like have literally went like 4 or 5 times, every voyage they had was different, which is just like you, if you've ever been a game master who's like ran the same module multiple times for multiple tables, you know how different each of those tables is. And yeah, like that's just the interesting thing for me in general about like storytelling at a table is the like you said, ethereal nature of it. Like it's that emergent story that comes along. Those things you didn't plan for that suddenly become huge points of, memory or reflection, like those things that stick out for you
Mm,
that
mm.
like you were totally not planned for. And, there's that little joke about like Boblin the Goblin and things like that, like things that are just like throwaways for the DM, but like the players love latching onto. Like for me, that's like the most special thing about D&D and tabletop gaming in general.
Yeah, it's not, oh, remember that time I did 68 points of damage. It's
Right.
like, yeah, just it's the dumbest things and then like the unexpected things and like in some ways the tragic things. That's why I keep I run a fairly deadly game by 5e traditions, not by like whatever, old school traditions maybe.
Mhm.
But yeah, because like stories that end or stories that get retold, stories
Yeah.
that are remembered,
Yeah.
stories that don't end or kind of just fade away.
Right. I mean, like a lot of players don't like to fail,
Yeah.
but I feel like when you roll terribly, sometimes like that's the most interesting story is when things go horribly wrong.
Yeah. Don't you want to? I want to know what the trap does. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
If you as a game master ever want to touch that, just put that object at the center of the table. And 9 times out of 10, like you ask the player, are you sure you want to touch it? 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, "Ugh, yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be bad, but I
But
gotta know."
I came to push buttons.
Yeah.
That's
Push
what's
buttons
up.
and break things.
So yeah, go check out all of the videos, but check out that latest one. It is yeah, it's doing a lot of different things at the same time. It was really well made.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what else you are going to do to make it better. But you are a professional. The other thing, the first thing that I would was gonna touch on was the OGL meme of memes. The Indestructible is front and center in the beginning, as he
Yeah.
was at the time. But that Avengers meme of everybody banding together that like just burned through the internet for a week. You're responsible for that? You did that?
Yeah, I guess. It was like just one of those things that talk about like emergent storytelling. Like when I made that video, I was not expecting it to go so viral.
Mm.
I put it out on Twitter at the time and like tagged all the people in it. And I guess they liked it because they shared it with their followers and it just blew up. And I it's probably the biggest video I've made, but like you said, like no one will have known that I've made it because like
You should have put
it's just
yourself
a
at the end,
meme.
like I'm Captain Marvel or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it was
yeah,
a fun video to make. It was really enjoyable. And then I did like a Star Wars follow-up
yes,
and I
yes.
I I tried focusing on with that one with like smaller names in the community. But like funny story, oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce his name. From Pathfinder, Eric Moana or Mona or the
I'm not going to attempt, but
yeah,
yes, yes.
he's like one of the heads of Pathfinder and more Paizo, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
And like he responded to the Star Wars one and he's like, "Oh, I guess like all the big names now like you're dropping because now that we've won, like you don't need us anymore." And I didn't know who he was at the time, so I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, "I'm sorry." And then I'm like, I actually do focus on other tabletop games other than D&D, and so I like showed him this image of like all the other
Yeah.
books I have. And like he's like, "Oh, you have some of ours." And I'm like, "Who is this guy?" And I
Who
look him
are
up and he's
you?
like the head of Paizo. I'm like, "Oh no. I have
So,
made an ass of myself in front of like one of the biggest people in the industry."
I'll get you in touch with Mark. He's a chill dude.
Mark Cypher? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I love Roll for Combat. They're fantastic.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, both of those guys. But I don't know. Paizo seems like a pretty chill company. I wonder if
Yeah.
he was messing with you.
No,
There's
he
no tone
like
on the internet.
yeah, he you don't get tone on the internet. And he wasn't actually mad, I
Yeah.
suspect, or like whatever. It's just like it was a funny moment for me to like have no idea who he was. And like and I didn't like say anything that was like negative toward him, but it's just like my own ignorance of I should have known who he was and I had no idea.
And it's that perfect moment of Boblin the Goblin. Like you
Yeah.
made this meme video that exploded, and you're like, this is the thing. Like, okay.
Yeah, and it was really cool to like see people that I love and respect in the D&D YouTube community. Like XP to level 3 is like, I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're Spider-Man. Who else would you be?
It was a really as much as it sucked to go through, especially as a person like talking about D&D on the internet. It really it fostered a sense of community much deeper, I think, than was there at the time. There was like
Yeah,
factions of like this is the correct way to play the game, and then it was like all hands on deck, and we
right.
won. It was pretty epic.
Yeah, I mean, it totally was the Avengers meme come to life.
Yeah, yeah. Someone should make a me. Oh no, you did. Okay, good.
Oops. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question show, maybe.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
sure. Should
ask
we do some
you
questions?
to grab some dice
Okay.
and
Got some
roll
right
me
here.
a d20.
All right, D20. Here we go. First roll is a
Is it?
natural 20.
Oh,
Natural
I
20.
thought we
The
were going the other
opposite
way.
of what you might think.
I thought we were going the other way. There's no good or bad, but there is a tonal shift
Yeah.
through the spectrum of numbers. And if you get doubles, we go into the lightning round.
Cool.
What is your best move or trick or hack? What is your dungeon master go to? Your DM superpower?
Oh, that is a good question. So for me, I feel like the dungeon master hack I love the most is actually making your players do your work for you.
Hmm.
So like when they write their backgrounds, have them create NPCs, have them create locations. Like if you roll or if they roll a critical success or critical failure and like you don't know how to narrate it, you just say like, tell me what that looks like. And then they get a chance to narrate and become DM for a little bit. And like it just offloads that responsibility to you and also makes it so much more epic for them because they get a part in like narrating their own characters' actions. And they will always come up with better ideas than what you could. So that's my hack is make them work for you.
I love that on two levels because one, it's efficient and
Mhm.
lazy, which is yes, please. But two, it's absolutely correct to ha you shine the spotlight on them, but sometimes you actually just like hand them the whole literally the spotlight. It's like, okay, you tell me what happens here,
Yeah.
and that's an awesome epic moment for them. And if there's four or five brains at the table, and you've been using yours the hardest the whole time, someone else might have a good idea once in a while, worth using there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, give me another D20.
Okay.
That was a good one.
14.
14. Ba-ba-ba-bam. What's your take? I think I might know the answer to this one. To the sandbox railroad, the conundrum, the spectrum.
Yeah. So I kind of talk about this in one video I did that was like the labyrinth video.
Yes, I have this.
Um
I have this handy.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I use that tarot deck in the video. That's like I love the art in that. But basically, as far as Sandbox and Railroad, I'm very much like discover, just kind of like we were just talking about, discover the story at the table. What I like to do is I set up the beginning and I have an idea for the end. And I might have like also encounters that could be sprinkled throughout, but like how they get from the beginning to the end is like completely up to them.
Hmm.
Um, like I might have tentpole moments, but as far as like, especially with overcoming obstacles and things like that, my whole philosophy is just put in obstacles, don't have solutions, because again, it goes back to like they will come up with better things than what you could. So, I guess I do a mix of both because it's not like a true sandbox where players could just go out and like, you know, go wherever they want and do whatever they want. Although I guess if they want to, sure, we could try it. But like I used to be very I'm gonna come up with everything that could possibly happen at the table. And that
Mm,
was a huge mistake. I found that letting go and giving players their own agency just made for better moments for me as a DM because I didn't know what was going to happen and just made my prep work so much easier than when I was spending like hours trying to come up with every possible uh, scenario.
I love that. That's like dungeon master wisdom, right? You
Yeah,
can
well,
gain a lot of intelligence reading books and watching videos, but like that's what you get from experience. Is like, oh, I should be doing fewer things. Like less
yeah.
is more.
Right. And my big inspiration for that was actually the Lazy Dungeon Master.
Mm,
I read his books and it was like an eye-opening moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm making this way harder than it needs to be. Because like I would literally have a clue in a specific room at a specific place. And then if the players didn't go into that room or didn't check that space, they would just miss that really important clue. And so then I'm like, well, if there's information that players need to get, like it doesn't matter like the I don't know the verisimilitude or whatever like the creating like the exact location and the exact everything and having everything like pre-planned like it is a video game.
mm.
Having things more flexible, I feel like flexibility is huge because that's the whole point of playing a tabletop game as opposed to a computer game is because you do have infinite possibilities. Like you aren't stuck to a specific dialogue tree or specific set of levels you have to complete. So I forgot what the original question is. I feel like I'm just rambling now.
Sandbox versus Railroad, but this is
Yeah.
a show for rambling. That is the point. That you
Okay.
fell into my trap.
Wow. I feel
The
like you railroaded me into a sandbox over
I
here.
just give you a sandbox, baby. That's it. Yeah, the Mike Shaness of it all. I really like Lazy Dungeon Master, and I think some people bounce off of it because they're like expecting it to be a no prep sort of thing.
Mhm.
And if you haven't read it, at least check out the bullet points because it's prepping the right things. It's not prepping. It's prepping the
Yeah,
right things and not wasting your time prepping all of the things because that way madness lies and you will
right.
inevitably be making stuff up anyway.
Yeah.
Big
That'll
shout
joke about
outs.
like the DM who preps everything, and then like the players are like, "What's the bartender's name?" And it's like, "Oh shoot!"
Yes.
Slow pan into the DM's face as he has no idea.
Because there's a very Zen readiness to, okay, I know I have what I need, and I know I can't have it all.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to adapt to whatever comes my way tonight.
Yeah, and I think that confidence comes a little bit with just experience
Mm.
of like trusting yourself that you will have an answer at the table. Um, yeah, just when I feel like if someone begins as a DM, like of course it's great to have like the shorter one-shot modules that you can run. But when you get in when you become more experienced, like experiment more with opening up your world and your possibilities a bit more and see how it goes for you. And maybe like me, I can't speak for everyone. Maybe for some people that's extremely uncomfortable to like not know
Mm.
not to have everything pre-planned. And if that's the case, like stick to what you enjoy most, you know? But for me, like it just made my experience at the table so much better when I did not over prep.
And yeah, it's definitely insightful to always remind yourself that there's different kinds of people, different kinds of dungeon masters, different kind of tables and games. But and it's very magnanimous of you, but I do have a suspicion that it is actually impossible to prepare everything. So people who are trying to are getting themselves into trouble. And that is what I immediately did when I first started running this game. It was like, okay, no, I need an answer for everything. If they do this, then I'm going to do that. If they ask this question, then I'm going to roll out with this one. And you're wrong-footed immediately, and then you panic.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
for
you're going to
sure.
panic anyway, I guess. So you might as well enjoy the process.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Uh,
that's a universal experience. When we all start, we all over prep. We all act like we're Tolkien and we need to write our Elvish language,
Mhm.
but
Three.
sometimes you just got to be George R. R. Martin, and just make it up as you go. Oh wait,
and,
no,
and
no,
never
sorry.
finish a
No,
campaign.
George R. R. Martin. So, okay, I got way mixed up. He actually is a plotter. So like in writing, there's like the idea of plotting versus pantsing.
Happy NaNoWriMo, everybody, by the time you're seeing this, probably.
Yeah, yeah. If you good luck on your novel if you're writing one right now. Um, and so like the epitome of like the plotter is George R. R. Martin, where he like plots everything out before he goes. And then the epitome of like the pantser is Stephen King, where he's like
Yes.
literally, I will just write and see what happens. Like I know these characters and I'm gonna start writing stuff, and whatever direction it goes, I'm gonna follow it. And I wish I had that ability.
Well, if you write 100 novels, it helps. There's also the fact that I really love the first three-quarters of every Stephen King book.
Well, I guess that's his like Achilles heel, right? Because like if you don't know where you're going, you can't set it up.
Yeah, and then things
It's
get
just
real. It's
like
a spider, and then they do bad stuff in the sewers that we're not going to talk about.
yeah, that one did not make the movie adaptation, luckily.
Yeah, it's weird. I forgot about that. I reread it recently. I was like, "What is happening?" I
Yeah.
forgot about this part. Eey. Don't read it, kids. The Pennywise is not the scariest thing in that book. Uh, roll a d20 for me so I can
Oh,
breathe
yeah.
easier.
17.
17. He's rolling. He's rolling hot. He's rolling hot. What's your favorite thing that happens at the table? What's the juicy part for you?
Oh my gosh. That
I'll accept multiple answers, I suppose.
that is a really these are really great questions. Um, for me, I think it's like when players get completely engulfed and like that moment when they start talking to each other,
Mm,
like when you can just like kind of sit back. And this is always a problem for me because like I always want to like push the story forward, push the story forward. But like when you have those moments of like the players start just role playing and creating their own scenes and like having conversations about the world, like that for me is like, oh my gosh, they're having a good time and they're really getting into this. So I think that is a juicy part for me.
I love that. And I've recently been working on backing off and letting those moments breathe more
Mhm.
because I 100% would feel responsible for driving the plot forward or
Yeah,
setting the pace or whatever and kind of like step on those moments.
right.
So yeah, how do you go about doing that? Like what kind of strategies you're employing to like let those moments breathe more or like maybe tee them up?
Yeah. It's just very hard for me.
Mm,
Because like just like you, my instinct is, okay, let's keep going. Like let's go on to the next bit of what we're doing. Um, Sometimes it's just like I need a break. Like I need to like figure something out. So talk amongst yourselves. That's not a very organic way of doing it, so I don't find that like as effective. But I guess just like DMs have so much to keep in mind at the table. But like another aspect of it is maybe just like have table awareness of when players do have those scenes. Like it's okay to have slower moments at the table. Like there have been some sessions I've done where we've gone like in longer campaigns, maybe 3 or 4 sessions without any combat. And we are actually like a very combat heavy, we really enjoy the combat at my table. So, I wish I knew how to make them happen because if I did, I would make them happen a lot more. But it's just when they do happen, don't feel like you just have to shut yourself up, I guess. And I'm saying that to me, to myself, is
yeah.
I have to like just let go sometimes and listen, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough because you feel responsible for, oh, I make game happen.
Right.
But that is also part of the game and like a really good part of the game that yeah, you can only almost stop from happening. You can't start from happening. You can't, oh,
Yeah.
you're sitting around the campfire. Like, does anybody have anything? And everyone's gonna be like, no, I
Yeah.
guess maybe I've prepared
I,
something.
right. I
But
mean, there
once
are like tabletop decks. of like campfire questions and things like that. I've never tried using them, but
I put them in one of my encounter tables. One or two of my encounter tables have like conversation startery, like long resty thing. Like there's different ways to use them, but like
mhm.
it's fun. I had other players who were, let's say, more interested in that side of things.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So here's another example of like where it always happens, right? And like the biggest, this is the moment when DMs are like trying to push things forward and like the players are really getting into something is the planning stage for the players. When the players know what the problem is and like they start coming up with these really bizarre ways of and plans of like how they're gonna do whatever this thing, like to the point of overcomplicating everything.
Yes, yes.
Like some that is, I guess, a place where maybe I could practice just not pushing so hard and just like letting them come up with whatever kind of crazy plan they want.
Well, that one's such a balancing act. I'll often so by one game I play and we play in a at the game shop, and he just put in a coffee bar. So
Hmm.
like I will literally force myself to like get up from the table, buy a drink, or like pretend to use the bathroom. I physically need to leave to shut up
Yeah.
sometimes, and I let them do that. And it sets like a timer too, because we all know how you guys can plan for 35 minutes. The second we start, that plan's going out the window 95% of the time.
Right.
So it's fun to do, but at this, and once in a while it works and it's amazing. But also, like I can't let you do that for 90 minutes because
Yeah.
I know you will.
It's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah.
And then they spend all their time planning, and then you got like 10 minutes to run your final combat with the boss.
Hmm.
You're like, okay, guys, how are anyone need to go anywhere in the next 2 hours? Because we're just now going into final combat.
Yeah, that's also the good and the ill of running in a place that closes.
Yeah.
Like we have to leave now.
Operating on someone else's schedule.
Oh man, love it. Give me one more. Give me another
Okay.
D20. Let's keep the streak alive.
Okay. Two.
A two. What is your least favorite aspect of running the game?
I think it's prep, really,
Hmm.
because it's like I procrastinate. And so I usually wait till like the day before to prep, and then I'm just in a mad rush from like the day before to like when we're actually starting. And like even as everyone's there and like ready to go, I'm like, give me like 10 more minutes, guys. I'm just figuring one last thing out. Especially like in digital tabletops, like I'm a big Foundry user. So like I like having maps and art and tokens and all that. And so I'm like, I just gotta upload these final images for you guys, for your characters and all this stuff. So that's definitely just that pressure of I've got so much to do, and we're like I feel like everyone's waiting on me sometimes.
Hmm.
So I guess that's my least favorite aspect of it is the definitely the planning and starting. How about you?
Oh, the Uno reverse card.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I feel like the cheap answer is like scheduling or like
Oh,
starting a game.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's another thing. It's-
yeah.
mm,
I have almost actively like sought out and like strategized around the parts that I don't like
yeah.
and like kind of made them like half the reason I started the channel and like the reason it's vertically table is like I hated exploration. I didn't know how to make it work. I blamed myself. I didn't realize it was a system error
Hmm.
and not me.
No, there's not
So I
really
keep
three pillars.
yeah, no, there's one pillar. Uh, and we all know what it is, like a middle finger. And so I put a lot of work into creating a system of, like overland travel and like random
Hmm.
encounters that didn't feel so random. Um, so yeah, now currently I got a pretty good squad of people, but I think when you have a player who doesn't understand the level of effort that goes into running the game,
Yeah.
um, and sometimes it's because you make it look easy, which is actually like to the dungeon master's credit.
Hmm.
You don't let them see you sweat. But yeah, sometimes like feeling like I don't need to be lauded or thanked. It happened one time, and I was like, "Whoa, no, this is my fun time too." But the lack of understanding of the collaborative nature and how much weight everyone else is pulling
Right.
for different reasons. I don't like that because it's disrespectful to everybody.
Yeah.
That might be the answer to a different question.
And it seems like it's always the same player that
Yeah.
is making like the inappropriate jokes or like trying to do all those things that we as DMs hate.
It's a type, and I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the game that we're playing, right? Like
Mm,
it's fun to try to break the game when the game is being run by a computer system, right?
yeah.
And you're playing by yourself. So like a one-player video game, cool. Try to figure out every exploit and make it glitch. But when we're trying to build something together and you are actively trying to undermine that effort, we have an issue, and
Yeah.
it's getting solved outside of the game, not inside of the game most of the time.
Yeah. I did think of another one.
Sure, I'll take
While
it.
we're talking, is just finding players, or I suppose as a player finding a table. That's always difficult.
Yes. Yes, it's very easy to find players.
Yeah.
It can be a little difficult to find good players sometimes.
I don't know. Sometimes I have like issues finding players.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've started running community one shots on my Discord, and especially okay, let me put it this way. It's difficult to find players that are willing to play games that aren't D&D.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah, but
1000%. Yes,
specifically
yes,
that.
yes, 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 yes. Um, which is wild to me, which is also a fundamental misunderstanding, I think. I think that's a lot of people's blind spots. My theory, and I definitely stole it from someone. I don't know if I actually got credit for it, but I think a lot of people are walking around who've only played fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons,
Hmm.
spent a lot of time and effort on loading all of that information and assume that it's going to be a commensurate amount of effort to play a different game.
Right.
And unless that game is like Pathfinder, 90% of the time, it is way easier to play. You're also not starting from zero. A lot of the skills that you have from fifth edition come along with you. And other games are fun. I don't know. I don't watch the same movie every night. I don't have the
Right.
same thing for dinner every night. It's like I don't watch the same genre of television show. Like it's weird that that is so embedded in the culture.
Hmm.
And I don't have a good answer for. Let us know down in the comments. First of all, go
Oh,
play one shots
yeah.
on the Double Crit Fail Discord server. I might join you there.
Oh, I love it.
But also, yeah, how do it's fascinating to me that people just don't want to explore other systems. I
Yeah.
dragged both of my I think that was another good part of the OGL fiasco. One, the memes. Thank you for that. But two, I think it did encourage a lot of people to broaden their horizons, explore, and gave dungeon masters around the globe the chance to like put their foot down. Like,
Hmm.
just like I am not running 5e anymore, so I was democratic about it. I put it to a vote at both my groups, but yeah, it's tough. It is
Yeah.
tough to find non 5e players.
Yeah. Like when after the OGL, I tried out Pathfinder 2e for the first time, and that's a great system.
Mm.
Like the three action economy, like the fact that not everyone has opportunity attacks. It just like people can. I remember the first time we ran a group and like our players were like, "Wait, I can just move," and I'm like, "Yeah, you can just move." You can be dynamic and go other places, and it's just not this continual slog of I stand here, you stand here, and we hit each other kind of thing.
I really enjoyed Pathfinder up until like level 7, level 8. I started to get bogged down a little bit,
Hmm.
but like that system sings. It is balanced in ways that you didn't realize a system could be balanced if you've been running 5e for long enough, where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, I do the math and it works. Oh,
right.
cool. Oh, there's an answer for all of these things. Cool. Oh, this is interesting and different every time because all of
Wait,
these
there
decision
are
points
rules for
matter.
this?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
They accounted for this?
I am a big fan of Pathfinder Second Edition. We really and like all of my players enjoyed it. It appealed to like the tinkery. I got a lot of not optimizey, but like
Mhm.
I'm gonna move things around. I'm gonna select different feats.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, you can get lost in the weeds. It seems intimidating. It's definitely start at level one, but
Yeah.
ooh, it's good. Try it if you haven't.
Right. That was the hardest thing for me as a DM is like having no idea what any player could do. And of course they were new to the system too, so like they didn't know what their characters could do either. So we had a bit of a clunky time, but I think we all had fun as we all were figuring it out.
And that's really okay. I really embrace. I tried to fight against that, and I realized like, oh, I'm learning a whole new system. I'm not learning these five classes as well. You guys teach. I will teach you the rest of the game. You teach me your things,
Yeah.
and this is going to be a different play style for a little while. And now, did it break immersion sometimes? Yeah, sure, fine. But like, it was fun as hell.
Hmm.
It was a good time. That was the point. So I think a lot of people actually won't make the leap to be a dungeon master, let alone try a different system because they think they need to know everything to begin, and that's not true.
Yeah,
It's folly.
definitely.
Um, you're interviewing me now. Give me another D20. I don't like this. Hold
Okay.
on. Wait a minute. I'm talking too much.
16.
I told you I'm working on shutting up. Uh, what common advice really only applies to more experienced game masters?
Oh gosh. Common advice that applies to experienced game masters. Oh man, that might be above my pay grade.
Okay, like I can expand it even to like what little like chestnuts of wisdom out there do you like maybe disagree with or don't
Oh,
think
okay.
beginners should be hearing?
Um, hmm. So what common advice should maybe an experienced game master just say it, ask the question one more time?
Well, give me your hottest take. No,
My hottest take. Okay.
what advice out there do you think should be let's say maybe clarified, if not disagreed with, or if not, um, the question itself is it not for beginners, but
Mhm.
I will also take just maybe, perhaps not for anybody, or not for anybody without a series of caveats that don't get mentioned in the same breath.
Um, I mean, okay, so this is maybe not like a direct answer to the question, but this kind of like piggybacks off of what we were just talking about.
Mm.
Like, okay, so yeah, all right, yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
Very
spicy.
experienced dungeon masters like to tweak D 5e and like do all these mods for 5e.
Hmm.
And I'm like, or you could try a system that like is actually already doing all the things you want to do. Like I've seen so many people almost create like the three action economy in 5e or
Hmm.
like bend 5e in ways where it's like totally no longer even 5e, like all these home rules and stuff. And I'm just like, sometimes it's really better just to learn a new system or like ask advice. Hey, here's the kind of game I want to run. I want to run a zombie survival game. Does anybody have like a good uh a good suggestion? And someone's like, all flesh must be eaten or something else, you know? Like you don't you don't mod necessarily 5e, like explore new systems. And that goes right back to what we were talking about before, where you might be the only person at your table who wants to play that game, sadly.
And if you're the dungeon master and you're already like homebrewing the hell out of 5e, you can just run something else and
Yeah,
don't tell them it's not Dungeons and Dragons anymore.
right.
And I think like at least half the time you're gonna get away with that. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think it's not an either or either. Like I think there's a lot of people who are incentivized to explore other systems in order to steal rules to bring back
Oh,
to their one homebrew system
yeah.
to rule them all.
That is a great
Um,
point too, for sure. Like that is another reason to try out new systems because or like kind of how like if you're a DM and you run or you play as a player at other DMs tables, like you find ways that
mm.
find cool things that DM does that you then steal and use for yourself. Like it never hurts to explore in this hobby and community and like try new things out. And I maybe that's like back to maybe this is the real answer to your question. Never become complacent as an experienced DM. Never be like, I know it all. I'm the master at the table. Like, always be learning, always be exploring, always be trying new things. But like
Yes.
generally, I feel like there isn't. I can't right now think of any like bad advice that I've heard like from popular YouTubers or things like that. Like people generally know their stuff.
And they subjectively know their stuff, and there is no
Yeah.
objective answer. So I think that feeds back into like experiment, try new things.
Mm.
I think we might have screwed up by calling it Dungeon Master. Is it too late to change? I think it's too late to change that.
Dang it. They Kleenexed us.
They did. They did. Yeah, we can fix the dungeon part. The game master. I don't know. There's a million alternatives, but none of them have satisfied me yet.
Yeah.
Go check out new systems, but before you do that, go check out Double Crit Fail. There's some awesome stuff up there. If you are a Star Wars fan, even a casual Star Wars fan, I'm a casual Star Wars fan. I've only seen all of the movies and most of the shows. I think that makes me casual. But oh man, just a wonderful thing. Bunch of other stuff on there. The Labyrinth video I am going to talk about next time because I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, remind the fine folks at home where they can find you and
Yeah.
what you're doing on the internet.
We're on YouTube right now. After you finish this video and after you watch a bunch of Ritty videos, check out, just go up to the top of the search bar and type in double crit fail and check out my channel and see some of the stuff I'm doing.
There'll
And
be links in the description. You don't even just click stuff. You don't even have to type anymore,
oh, do
guys.
that. Perfect.
All
Well,
right.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me. Like
Oh,
this time has flown by. I've been having a lot of fun. You're an awesome interviewer, and this I got a little tripped up on that last question, but this has been
well,
really
you
fun.
reversed the tables on me somehow, so that's all good. We're even. Thank you for hanging out. Let's do it again in a couple minutes for us, a couple days for you watching at home. Until then, everybody, be kind, have fun. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.